Okay, so when you hear the name The Last of the Mohicans, what comes to mind? Probably a big, sweeping adventure story, right? But here's the thing. It is so much more than that. We're talking about a foundational myth of the American frontier. It's complicated, it's pretty troubling, and it's all about a world being born out of violence. So let's get into it. Let's really peel back the layers of this classic.
And you know what? Let's just dive right in with Cooper's own words. He wrote this in his introduction, and wow, does it set the tone. He's basically saying, this place is still wild, but the people who belonged here, they're gone. Think about that. It's a story about a place, sure, but it's really about the people who've just vanished from it. This is the very heart of that whole vanishing Indian idea, a story about what's there and what's hauntingly absent.
All right, so to really get this story, we've got to get inside Cooper's head a little bit. For him, the American frontier wasn't just a bunch of trees. No, it was this epic stage, a place where everything was a contradiction. Civilization versus savagery, honor versus betrayal. It's a total clash of opposites.
And you know, Cooper is actually pretty honest about what he doesn't know. He basically says, look, I'm writing about a history that's super obscure, and the names are confusing. Now, that's not just him covering his bases. It's a huge tell. He's telling us right from the start that we are seeing this entire world through his lens, biases and all.
Okay, and this right here, this is the core of how Cooper sees the world. He paints the Native American warrior as this walking contradiction, a total antithesis. In war, he's daring, cunning, ruthless. But in peacetime, suddenly he's just generous, hospitable. This clash isn't just a personality quirk. It's the engine that drives the entire story. Everything hinges on this. So you have this world of total opposites, right? Who could possibly survive that, let alone thrive? Well, that's where our hero comes in. Enter Hawkeye. He's the man caught smack in the middle of two cultures. But here's the kicker. He doesn't really belong to either one. And Hawkeye's whole identity is just fascinating. He'll tell you straight up, I am genuine white. But in the next breath, he's trashing their ways. He especially hates written laws and books, thinks they're for cowards. He lives by a totally different code, one he learned from the forest itself, not from some dusty old book. So that's the key to Hawkeye, right? He's this incredible mix of his white heritage and his wilderness skills. He can't read a book to save his life, but he can read the moss on a tree to find his way north. He's the ultimate translator between these two clashing worlds. And that rifle of his, Le Long Carabine, that's basically his tool for laying down the law out there. Now, Hawkeye isn't out there all by himself. His companions are, they're the absolute heart and soul of this book. They're the ones who give it its name and its deep sense of tragedy. We're talking about Chingachgook and his son, Uncas. And through Chingachgook, man, you can just feel the sadness of a people who have lost everything. He says, I am a chief and the Sagamore, but he's a leader of a vanishing people. Think about that line, never seen the sun shine but through the trees. They've been pushed so far back from their own shores into the shadows. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And that brings us to his son, Uncas. Talk about pressure. He's the last pure-blooded warrior of his tribe. He's described as this amazing, noble figure, the bounding elk. He's everything you'd want in a hero. But he's not just a person. He's a symbol for an entire future that, as you can probably guess, is never going to happen. Of course, where you have heroes, you've got to have villains. And this frontier creates some truly memorable ones. Let's talk about Magua. He is, without a doubt, one of the most complex and unforgettable bad guys in literature. And he is driven by one thing and one thing only: pure, burning revenge. So what makes a villain like Magua tick? His rage isn't just for show. Oh no, it's personal. And to get it, you have to know about his past with one specific person, Colonel Monroe. He's the guy in charge of the English fort. And, more importantly, he's the father of the women Magua has just captured. See, Magua's whole villain origin story comes from a place of deep injustice. He lays it all out for Cora. He asks her, who gave him the firewater? 'Twas the palefaces. Colonel Monroe had him publicly whipped for drinking the very stuff the Europeans brought over. So for Magua, this isn't just about winning a battle. It's about getting back the dignity that was stripped from him. And that leads to his absolutely chilling demand. It's not enough to kill Monroe. No, he wants to destroy his entire legacy. He wants Cora, Monroe's daughter, to live in his wigwam forever.
It's a calculated, cruel form of vengeance. He wants to absorb his enemy's bloodline, just completely dismantling his world from the inside out. Okay, so you've got all these pieces on the board, right? You've got Hawkeye's Code of the Forest, the Mohicans fight for their honor, and Magua's all-consuming revenge. There's no way this ends peacefully. The story is just barreling towards a massive, violent clash. And the tension just builds and builds through these incredibly brutal moments. It starts with an ambush that pulls our heroes right into the thick of it. Then the fort falls, which leads to this absolutely horrific massacre. And finally, it all comes down to this desperate chase to save the sisters, taking everyone deeper and deeper into a wilderness where the only rule is survival. And you can just feel the chaos in this one line from Hawkeye during ambush. To cover for your lives. This really paints a picture of what this kind of fighting was like. It's not neat lines of soldiers on a field. It's a messy, brutal fight for your life among the trees and rocks, where your only hope is finding cover, and the danger is never, ever over. So we get to the climax, and it is brutal. Korra is killed by one of Magua's own men, and Magua's reaction? It's not anger, it's not sadness, it's this joyous cry of savage triumph. Can you imagine? It's horrifying, and it shows you everything you need to know about his revenge. Even though he lost his prize, he still won, because he succeeded in utterly destroying Monroe's world. And so it all comes down to this, one last showdown. You've got Hawkeye, the perfect shot, and Magua, the embodiment of pure rage, facing off on a treacherous mountain ledge. And that famous rifle, La Longue Carabine, comes up one final time. And with a single shot, it's over. Magua's quest for revenge ends with him falling to his destruction. But you know, this isn't some big, heroic victory moment. It's just grim. It's a final, bloody punctuation mark on a story where everyone, innocent and guilty, has paid an unbelievable price. So, the fighting's over. The battle is won, I guess. But there are no celebrations. The book doesn't end with a cheer. It ends with this deep, quiet sadness. A mourning for everything and everyone that's been lost. And this final scene is just, wow, it's so poignant. The Delaware women are mourning, and they mourn Uncas and Korra together. They imagine them united in the afterlife, being told to be kind to each other. It's this beautiful, heartbreaking fantasy of a future that could never, ever happen in the real world, which just makes the reality even sadder. Which brings us right back to where we started, with that quote from Cooper's introduction. The story is done. The heroes are dead. The villains are dead. The people who lived on this land are gone. The wilderness is still there, but it feels like an empty stage now, doesn't it? And that's the big question the book leaves you with, isn't it? What's left when an entire people disappears? Look, The Last of the Mohicans is an incredible adventure, for sure. But it's also a ghost story. It gave us one of America's first superheroes in Hawkeye, but it also pushed this really powerful and damaging myth of the vanishing Indian. So the question for us is, what other ghosts are hiding in the stories we tell about ourselves?